Welcome back. We are starting with number 72 for video number 8. What is the volume of this cylinder? So remember, on your reference sheet you will have a few volume formulas. This will be one of them. Of course, it doesn't tell you what the volume is for, but for a cylinder, its volume equals area of the base times height of the cylinder. Remember that capital B stands for area of the base, and that H stands for height of the cylinder. Okay, so the area of our base is a circle, and so that area formula is pi times radius squared. So that is one that you'll need to remember. Over here we have the diameter, so we want to half that to find the radius, and we have pi times 3 squared times the height of the cylinder is 4. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. If you leave this in terms of pi, your answer is 36 pi cubic centimeters. Remember, volume is in cubic units. And if you are asked to use 3.14 for pi or your pi button, then you'll just multiply 36 by pi and you get 113.04 cubic centimeters. On number 73, you have to think a little bit creatively here. It says, what is the scale factor of two similar pyramids with volume of 8 cubic feet and 343 cubic feet? Remember that volume is cubic units. So basically you want to take the cube root of each one of these numbers. Basically what that means is uncube it. What times itself 3 times is 8. What times itself 3 times is 343. 2 times 2 times 2 gives you 8. And 7 times 7 times 7 gives you 343. There is a button on your calculator that you'll be able to use for the test that looks like this. And it is behind the y to the x button. So you would hit the second button and then the y to the x button. And you can find the cube root. So you'll put in the number, say 343. You hit the second button, and then you hit the 3 for your cube root, and that will give you the 7. So 2 to 7. So your scale factor, depending on which way you go, is 2/7 or 7/2, depending on which way they ask, and they don't really ask you a particular way for that one. Number 74, Kendra has a compost box that has the shape of a cube. She wants to increase the size of the box by extending every edge of the box by half of its original length. After the box is increased in size, which of the following statements is true? So they're asking for what percentage of the volume the new box is. Well, the volume formula, if you think of a box, it's a rectangular prism, basically is length times width times height, if you remember how you've learned it before. Area of the base times the height. So if you think of it as length times width times height, whenever you extend every edge by half of its original length, you're adding half plus, you're adding half to what was already there. So 1 plus half. That's 1.5 or 3/2. So if you take that and you say 3/2 times your length times 3/2 times your width times 3/2 times your height for your new box, we'll say maybe volume of new box, we'll put a little n. What you get is 27 over 8 when you multiply 3/2 times 3/2 times 3/2. And when you put that in your calculator and you move your decimal over twice to the right, that's 337.5% of an increase in volume of the original box. So if you didn't quite catch that, go back, play it again. Also, you can look on the Escambia website and see how they explain that. A city is planning to replace one of its water storage tanks with a larger one. The city's old tank is a right circular cylinder with a radius of 12 feet and a volume of 10,000 cubic feet. The new tank is a right circular cylinder with a radius of 15 feet and the same height as the old tank. What is the maximum number of cubic feet of water the new storage tank will hold? So again, the volume of a cylinder is area of the base times the height. Here's what we have. We have the old tank, and I'll just draw a quick picture here, with a radius of 12 feet and a height of, that's what we're looking for, and the volume is 10,000 cubic feet. Then we have this new tank over here, and the radius of this new tank will be 15 feet, and it's going to have that same height. They want to know what is the new volume of that. So what we have to do is find the height. So you take your volume equals area of the base times the height formula, and you plug in what you know. You know 10,000 for the volume equals area of the base, which is pi r squared. So 12 squared pi times the height is what you're looking for. That's your only variable. Now what I suggest here for you to do, this will be 144 pi, is to leave everything in your calculator as you go. For example, 10,000 divided by 144 divided by pi equals, you'll get a number that is about 22.10, but it keeps going. Leave that in your calculator, because watch what happens. That is your height that you're going to plug in over here for the volume of your new cylinder, which is area of the base, 15 squared, 225 pi, times your new height, and you'll plug that number in that's in your calculator. Just leave that in there. Say that number times 225 times pi button. And that, amazingly, if you'll plug that in right now, gives you a whole number, 15,625. But if you round, you won't get that whole number answer. So my suggestion is always to round at the end when possible. Okay, 76, when a plane passes through a cone to create a cross-section that is parallel to the base, the resulting two-dimensional shape of the cross-section is a, and you can look at the picture and tell, it will be a circle. You visualize your cone, look at it from the top down, and you'll see it would be a circle. When a plane passes through a cone to create a cross-section that is perpendicular to the base and whose base is the diameter of the cone, the resulting shape is a. So think of if you were to slice that cone from the vertex to the base, you would get a triangle. And the last one is a new geometry word for you, probably. Some of you may know this word. When a plane passes through a cone to create a cross-section that is diagonal to the base, and the resulting two-dimensional shape of the cross-section is an, and it says an, you might have thought oval, but the word in geometry is ellipse. You could also say oval, but the technical term for that is ellipse. Number 77. Using the following equation, find the center and radius of the circle. So if you remember from not too long ago, we were completing the square. Remember that the equation of a circle is x minus h all squared plus y minus k all squared equals r squared. So we need to get this to look like that. So the way I like to do that is I like to leave blanks. So I say x squared minus 12x, and I need a blank right here. That's what I'm trying to figure out, is that third term in that trinomial plus, and I'm going to put these, I'm going to separate them by parentheses just so we can focus on what we're looking at here. Y squared plus 14y, and then a blank, and then equals negative 21. So I'm going to fill in those blanks, and when I do, I'm going to have x plus or minus, we're not sure yet, some number all squared, plus y plus or minus, some number all squared, equals some number, and that will be some number squared when we get finished. So let's see. If we remember how to do this, we half this number, you get -6, so that number goes here, and then you square that -6, and it's the third number in your, or the third term in your trinomial. Remember, what you add to this side, you also have to add to this side to keep your equation balanced. Then over here, you do the same thing. You half the 14, you get 7, and then you square the 7 and get 49. This number will always be plus because you're squaring a number. So then you add 49 to this side as well. Then when you add -21 plus 36 plus 49, you get 64. And down here is how you find your center and your radius. So your center would be at 6, -7. And your radius, remember this is radius squared. 64 is radius squared. So your radius is 8 because 8 squared equals 64. Okay. This was a -7 because this would be minus a -7 because there's a minus in the equation of a circle. So to make this a plus, that would have to be a -7. Good. Go back, watch it again if you need to. Circle Q has a radius of 5 units with a center of 3.7, -2. Which of the following equations defines the circle? So x minus, this is your h and your k, x minus 3.7 all squared plus y minus a -2 all squared equals 5 squared. And so the one that would match up with that once you have simplified everything, x minus 3.7 all squared plus y plus 2 all squared equals 5 squared, which is 25. Good. Which figure would be most specifically represented by the following set of coordinates? What I did on my paper was I just quickly graphed this, so you may want to, just jot a quick graph. I'm not going to do it here. Basically, you get this figure up here. And what you would do to be specific about it is you would use either Pythagorean theorem to find your lengths of your sides, or you would use the distance formula to find the lengths of your sides. These are my different points here if I were to accurately draw this. And if you find the lengths of each side, you'll find that they're all equal. You know by graphing this thing that it's not a square or a rectangle because those both have 90-degree angles in them, 4 90-degree angles. So it's between parallelogram and rhombus. So you check the lengths of the sides to see if they're equal. A rhombus has 4 equal sides. And when you check those sides using the distance formula, you'll see that they are equal to each other. Number 80, a top view of downtown Rockford is shown on the grid with Granite Park represented by a quadrilateral A, B, C, D. The shape of the new park, Micah Park, will be similar to the shape of Granite Park. Vertices L and M will be plotted on the grid to form quadrilateral JKLM representing Micah Park. Which of the following coordinates for L and M could be vertices of JKLM so that the shape of Micah Park is similar to the shape of Granite Park? Remember, similar means the sides are in proportion. So I'm going to just first show you one that's not and then show you one that is. Let's just look at A at 4, 4. That would be your L. And if M is at 4, 3, that's what your shape would look like. So if you check your sides, 1, 2, 3 is the length of this side, 1 is the length of this side, and 2 is the length of this side. So, and then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one is 3. And then this one is also 1, 2, 3. So they need to be in the same ratio across the board, and it tells you the correspondence of the letters. So that's the correspondence of the side. So LK would match up with CB. So LK is 3. CB is also 3. LM is 1. And it is supposed to correspond with CD. Where's CD? Over here. That's 3. So obviously, those do not equal each other. So that one cannot be the right one. So you can use the strike through tool and say eliminate, not a good one. And let me just show you the one that is and why it is. So 8, 4 would be here. That would be L. This is for D down here. And 8, 3 would be here. And if you draw that one and you compare the sides and their lengths, here we have 2, here we have 1, and here we have 1. Let's go with LK. Should match up with CB. LK is 1. CB is 3. LK, I think I just said that. This was M, right? LM. LK is 1. CB is 3. LM should match up with CD, also 1 to 3. And just to check, JM should match up with AD, and that's 2 to 6, which also reduces to 1/3. So that's a check. Sides are in proportion. We have similar figures. Good. 81. Write an equation of a line perpendicular to line EF below in slope-intercept form that passes through the point -2, 3. So here's -2, 3 if you care about that. Okay, what you need to do here first is think about some things. Line perpendicular to another line will have opposite reciprocal slopes. Oh my word, I can't spell. Let's do this. That's just sadness. Opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay. One thing we do know, and this will be on your reference sheet, is the point slope equation. The point slope equation is x minus x1. Pardon me. I have other things on my mind right now, sorry. Is y minus y1 equals m times parentheses x minus x1. And we're going to use this because we have a point, and that will be your x1 and your y1. We have a slope. You can do your rise over run. Pick 2 points on this line. Rise 1, 2, so up 2. Run 1, 2, 3, so to the left 3. So this slope of this line is -2/3. So the opposite reciprocal slope would be positive 3/2. So we know that that's going to be our slope, 3/2. So you plug this in, y minus y1 over there is 3 equals, the new slope is 3/2, your opposite reciprocal slope, and then x minus x1, which is -2. Make sure you put your negative in, your minus in for your formula basically, and your negative in for your -2. So we get y minus 3 equals 3/2 x plus 2. 3/2 times x plus 2. And then you distribute that through, which gives you 3/2 x plus 3. And you add 3 to each side to solve for y, because they wanted in slope-intercept form. So that gives you 3/2 x plus 6. So that is choice B. So you could have eliminated off the bat when you did your opposite reciprocals, A and D, and you were just then choosing between B and C. And actually what you could do there is you could graph both of these lines and see which one is perpendicular. to your original line, you could also do that if you have a hard time with point slope. Okay, on 82, I'm just basically going to talk you through this and give you the length of each side rather than working through the distance formula. We have triangle CAR with coordinates here. Jordan says CAR is a right triangle. Taylor says CAR is scalene. Is either of them correct? Can both of them be correct? If not, what changes can be made? Okay, so they both can be correct. You can have a right triangle that is scalene. Remember, scalene means no sides congruent. What you're going to use here is the distance formula. If you have graph paper and you're able to graph this accurately, you could also use Pythagorean theorem, graph it, and use each of the sides as a hypotenuse of a right triangle. Or you can use your distance formula. X2 minus x1 all squared plus y2 minus y1 all squared, all under the radical. Okay, where you have your points x1, y1, x2, y2, and then you do it again for each side to see what the lengths of each side are. And just let me write the lengths of each side here if I can interpret my work here. I have that the length of RC is the square root of 125. I have the length of, let's see, where are all of my numbers? AR is the square root of 80. And I have the length of AC is the square root of 45. Now you can put those in your calculator and get the decimal equivalent, but you can look at those and tell none of them are equal. So none of the sides are equal. Then, so it is scalene. Then, to figure out if it is a right triangle, you test and see if any of the sides are opposite reciprocal slopes. So you use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's your rise over run. If you want to graph it and do rise over run, you can. But the slopes of AC, and when I drew it, I could tell which ones were going to be potentially the right angles. So AC, the slope ends up being 2 when you do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And for AR, the slope ends up being negative 1/2. So those are opposite reciprocals, so it is also a right triangle. Again, practice using those formulas, but that's how I'm going to show you for number 82 for now. All right. Kim is asked to write an equation of a line that passes through the point and is parallel. So this one is just like number 81, but instead of perpendicular, we're talking parallel, which means the slopes are equal to each other. So we're working with a slope that is 6. All of these have a slope that is 6, so you can't eliminate any of these. But this would be your x1 and your y1, so you can use the point slope equation. So y minus y1, negative 3.8, equals m times x minus x1, 1.2. So then you just work it out. Minus a negative is a positive. Distribute your 6 through, get 6x minus 7.2. Subtract 3.8 from each side and get 6x minus 11. So for this one, your answer is B. Yay, last one. Zoe found point A located at negative 7, 18, and Z is located at 9, negative 18. Where would Zoe find the coordinates of the points that lie point M that lies halfway between A and Z? This is the midpoint formula. So break out your midpoint formula, which is, well, I can't seem to get my parentheses to be proper. There we go. x1 plus x2 divided by 2. That's the average of the x's. y1 plus y2 divided by 2, the average of the y's. So let's do it. We've got negative 7. Oh, I went the other way with mine, but that's okay. Negative 7 plus 9 divided by 2. So that gives me 2 over 2, which is 1. And 18 minus an, where am I? Yeah, no, wait, minus 18. Negative, okay, which way did I go? 18 minus 18, there we go, over 2. Excuse me for snorting. And I get 0 over 2, which is 0. So my midpoint is 1, 0. Yay! See you on the last video, everybody. One more to go. Recording.